dançar. Lá tem samba até de manhã, uma giga em cada andar. O meu lugar é cercado de luta e suor, esperança no mundo melhor e cerveja pra comemorar. O meu lugar tem seus mitos e seres de luz, é bem perto de Oswaldo Cruz, Cascadura vai o meu lugar é sorriso da paz e prazer, o seu nome é doce dizer, natureza. Welcome to another Aspire Beast Council. I'm your real estate investment broker, Charles Clark. Bom dia, here with another bright idea. Been off for a couple weeks, but we're back at it. Wanted to get the deal analysis back on since we started our cohort. So if you didn't know about that, we recently started our 90-day AspiRE program where we're educating people on how to get their next deal. We try not to have the, get rich schemes out there and try to accurately give a timeline that individuals can actually acquire a property. 90 days. So with that being said, Aspire Beast Council, our Tuesdays will kind of corresponds with the cohort in the sense that we will be analyzing deals, and those individuals that are part of it will be able to present deals and things of that nature so that they can get better at analyzing deals. And as I go through the presentation, we'll share more about that and breaking down the AspiRE framework as well. So again, welcome. First and foremost, want to give a big shout out to NextHome MyWay. Again, I am in their media studio at their headquarters here across the street from the airport. So if you do hear any loud noises, that's why we are across the street from the airport. Big shout out to Jose, Angel, and Carlos for allowing the AspiRE Mastermind group to meet here monthly, which tomorrow, if you're in southeastern Wisconsin, Milwaukee area, we will be holding our monthly meeting. It is the second Wednesday of every month. And this month we have a special guest, Victory Titles owner, Bill Wester. So that's going to be awesome. Him just sharing insights about the title company and what they, how they are involved in building your real estate portfolio, and actually going to have some opportunity to speak on subject to and the wholesaling process as well, because title companies are very important when it comes to wholesaling and making sure that all parties are represented in the way they need to be. Again, I am with Raise the Standard. My broker license is with NextHome MyWay, but I have my own company with under NextHome MyWay, and that's Raise the Standard. And so again, I got to give a big shout out to NextHome MyWay for allowing me to build my brand and giving me the resources and the tools. That's one of the most important things that I've realized being a real estate broker and joining a brokerage is the resources that they provide. And there's a lot of overlap with some of the things that brokerages offer at each one, especially the ones that are national franchise. They tend to have, the same tools, but the one thing that I have came across that no other brokerage has in Milwaukee that I know of is a social media room where I can do videos, do webinars, do podcasts, and there's a setup. There's plethora of background things and everything else. And here, I can give you a quick look. Um, Studio with, different sets, lights, cameras, and action. But big shout out. Thank you guys again for that, and just allowing me to build my brand here at NextHome MyWay. So let's get into it. So I've been trying to change a little bit in the sense of wanting to present. I feel like I have a background in education in the sense of I feel like that's part of the business that I bring and brand that I bring is that I try to educate my clients, right? My goal is to assist my clients with understanding that they're not just buying a property, right? They're buying a real estate business, and when you're buying a business, um, that's completely different than buying a property, right? There's certain things you need to have in place. There's certain um, needs that as a client you have that under normal circumstances of just buying a property, there's things that you don't necessarily need right away when you're dealing with a regular agent. And I recognized that when I started buying my real estate investment properties, and initially was being helped with a real estate agent. And frankly, the agent didn't help me at all in the sense of what I was trying to accomplish from an investor standpoint. The agent didn't help me with running the numbers, didn't help me with understanding those things, didn't help me with connecting me with other um, vendors and service people that I need to, to make sure that my asset, my business was running properly, right? Because from that agent standpoint, they were just helping me buy a property. And I just recognize that, as my motto is, I don't help you buy a property, I help you buy a business. It just so happens to be a property, right? And having that mindset and having that approach changes the transactions completely in my sense. Because if I was just helping you buy a property, once we close, right, it's just a matter of you moving in and making that house your home. But when you're buying a property and it's a business, well, from day one, you are responsible to your customers. You have responsibility to lives, right? You got to make sure the house is functioning, right? There's certain things you could be doing in your home that maybe not be up to standards, but just because you and your family live there, you don't really need to update it. Not having a smoke detector in a certain room. Well, if you don't want to have it with your family, that's your choice. But when it comes to tenants, that's something you need, and you can't play around with that. And so I just kind of felt like a lot of um, individuals would get in this would initially treat the purchase like a hobby, and that's how they approach it. So my goal is to help you understand that this is not a hobby, this is a business, and the sooner you understand that, the sooner you can scale. And that plays in a part to compounding, right? We Scaling is compounding, right? It's adding on to something and providing more, right? And so the theme of this week is the rep that compounds. We're kind of building on that. A little 2 weeks ago, we are talking about the kid in the backyard who's the imposter syndrome, where he's calling out that he's finna make the last shot, or catch the game winning pass. Um, in the Super Bowl, but he's building on those reps, right? She's building on those reps, doing that certain scenario in the backyard with sports. Well, that's the same thing with real estate investing, right? These the certain efforts, well, analyzing deals, which we're going to get into today. That's the rep, right? That's the rep that you're constantly doing, that when it's game time, and you're doing it for real, right? And I would say you should, every analyzing is for real, right? It's game like situation. because analyzing that deal can turn into an actual deal, right? Most people, because they don't have standards, because they don't have a framework, they just go into analyzing deals as if they're just analyzing a deal, right? They're not treating it as it's serious as they should. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Albert Einstein. I mean, he's one of the smartest men uh, that ever graced this earth, and understood compound interest, um, and the effects that it has. So the sooner you can put compound interest to work, the better you will be off, the better your situation will be, the better life will be, because you are having your money work for you. As I always say, um, putting your money to work for you will free up, you know, your life, your experiences, things of that nature. Um, so, in the sense of that works for your money, it's the same thing for investors, right? I just talked about it. Like every rep compounds, right? So now you'll get to the point where you can see certain numbers and know if it's a good deal or not. You start analyzing deals a lot, right? You'll know an address, and then you start to understand the market you're in, that you can see like, oh, if something's a deal or not based off just the numbers that you get, right? So analyzing deals constantly allows you to start seeing patterns in your market so that you can recognize things way beforehand. Most investors are one weapon quit, right? The reason most investors never feel the compound effect is they're not consistent enough, right? Three investors, um, trying to do the same thing, right? But different returns, right? The one rep investor analyzes one deal and moves on, no system. Um, he just analyzed, or she analyzed a deal, and there's really no rhyme or reason to it. Um, does it one day, takes 2, 3 days off, and then does it again here, and says they want to get investing, they know how important it is, but then doesn't stick to it, right? Then you have the inconsistent investor, um, 2 weeks in a row doing 5 deals a day, and then takes a month off, right? Or does it for a week, takes 2 weeks off, does it back for another week, right? It's just very inconsistent. Uh, Still doesn't have a framework, can't tell you what is a deal, probably doesn't have a buy box because they're still being inconsistent. Um, and, you know, can never build any true progress, right? The compounding investor, uses the framework, uses the system, are able to analyze deals. Took a while at first, but now is getting shorter and shorter with every deal because, really able to uh, focus on stuff, right? As this says, deal 10 takes 15 minutes. Deal one took 3 hours, right? Because getting all that information and knowing what you need to get, and knowing where you're going to get it from, knowing where you're going to get the information from, knowing where you're going to get the stats from, pulling that information, putting it into whatever system you're using, right? Especially if you don't have the AspiRE calculator, it takes you a while to gather all that information. I would honestly say that it was taking me a little bit beforehand. Before I had the calculator, it was probably taking me, I want to say, an hour to 30 minutes, hour 45, just to do one analyzing deal. I can honestly say now, as I've done more and more, and now using the calculator, I can probably analyze a deal in 15 minutes, if not 30 minutes. And most of the analyzing is gathering the data. But that's just, you know, constantly working on the system, constantly having a framework, and knowing um, where you can get information, where you can, cut some things out or change here because I have a system. When you don't have anything, it's hard to make adjustments. As I tell people, I'd rather have a bad plan than no plan, because a bad plan, I can fix it. I can fix a bad plan, because as you put it in, you implement it and things go wrong, you can recognize where it's going wrong and then you can make adjustments. But if you have no plan, you're just doing stuff, Well, you can't really pinpoint where something's going wrong because you're always inconsistently doing things inconsistently every day, right? So you start off with step one Monday, then all of a sudden step one is step five on Wednesday, right? You're that person is switching up, and so there's no consistency. So AspiRE is the system that makes your reps compound, right? Because it you're building on it. You're constantly building on this system that you have. You know what you need to do just by going by the acronym. You know the things you need to do, so you already kind of know the data. It starts simplifying things more and more for you. And then if you don't have that information, you know what to do when you don't have that information and how to move forward, right? Sometimes people get stuck because they don't have systems, and then if they don't have certain information, then they feel like they don't know what to do at that point. So just to get into it, AspiRE, we did break it down. Obviously, we named AspiRE first, and then after that, we were able to create a system off of our name, which really solidifies how to analyze a deal. We were able to create a system from it, a framework, and be able to analyze it. So not only do we use this framework for analyzing deals, but we use this framework for our system of investing. Um, and again, this is the difference between buying a property, right? And then buying a business that is a property, right? Because you need to have a system in place if you're going to run a business. You don't need a system necessarily in place if you're just buying a property one off, right? Most people are going to probably buy 2 to 3 properties in their lives. You don't need a system. You don't need a lot when you're doing this thing every 5 to 10 years, right? But when you're trying to buy 3 properties in 1 year, you need a system in place, and AspiRE fits that mold. So let's go into it. A is for address and asset. Um, what are you analyzing? What are we going to analyze? And you kind of in that situation as well is like, what do you think you might want to do with it, right? So the address and asset is, what is this asset? Where is this asset located? And what do we think we might be doing with this, right? You want to kind of reverse engineering, right? Is this going to be a fix and flip? Like, I think this is going to be a fix and flip. This is the asset I'm doing. Oh, okay. Now we can start going backwards, right? We can start moving forward because we already know where we want to end up. As the seller situation, right? Sometimes people be like, well, you don't really need to know what the seller um, situation. And I disagree, because if it's a bank, if it's the city, if it's an LLC, you're going to approach those all situations differently. Oh, excuse me. If it's a distressed seller, right, knowing that plays a part into your leverage, right? Your structuring of the deal. If they're distressed, they might need the money, but need it in a certain time limit. So maybe they're willing, um, either maybe they're willing to take a little bit less, or maybe they're willing to take your offer over someone who's going to give them 10,000 or 20,000 more, but they need to close in 45 days and you can close in 7, right? That can play a huge part, in knowing the situation of the seller really helps you with leverage, right? Seller financing, that only works if you understand the seller situation, which also informs you with P, right? Because, like, for example, most off-market deals, the seller believes that that's the correct price. And what I like to tell people is that um, why I like deals on market is because the market at least can um, educate the seller on what the true price is, right? Because if they're off market and they say this is the price and I'm not letting it go, and they're not in a dire situation, well, then that property is going to technically probably sit there if the numbers on the other end don't work. And the seller might feel like, well, I'm in the right because I know this is what it's worth. Well, when they put it on the market and it sits for 90 days, then they know that that's not the price, unless they want to live in denial. And that's not just a river in Egypt. Purchase price, though, again, selling price and purchase price are 2 different things, right? And just because they want to sell it at that price doesn't mean you need to purchase it at that price, right? And so you got to have your maximal acceptable offer. And all these things start coming in place when you are figuring those numbers out. Eyes for improvements or investments. This is the value add. Like, this is the most important thing, right? Um, this, as I tell people, this is BRRRR, right? This is, um, as I tell a lot of people, your general contractors is the money maker. They are the everything, right? I can analyze deals all day long, but if my contractors can't do the rehab at the budget that they said and improve the property to the amount that we think we can, then all this is for naught, right? The way real estate really works is that you do the value add because you can do the force appreciation. If you're not able to do the force appreciation, you're just buying and holding, right? And then you're just letting time do its job, right? And you're letting the compound do its job, where you can't necessarily force, the appreciation, right? So the improvements force it, right? If I buy something at 100,000 and I put 50,000 in it, that's how I force the appreciation to 250, right? If I just buy something at 100,000, for it to be 250, I might have to wait 15 years for it to get up to that point, right? So how do I speed up that process? Well, I improve it to make it more uh, reasonable to the other properties in the area, that it says that, some of those things in the area sold for 250, right? So improvements are the most important part of it. Then is R, which is revenue, right? What are we going to make from this, right? What are we going to make now from the improvements, right? Because the seller is selling based on the current rents, right? The good sellers, right? Good sellers that are aware. A lot of sellers try to sell their property at what they know you can rent it out for, and that's incompetence, right? And that's I've been seeing that more and more now that I'm in this niche of just working with investors, that there is a lot of naive, incompetent investors out there with multiple properties that have huge portfolios, and they haven't raised rents in 5 years, but now they want to sell the property as if they've been raising rents for 5 years. And it's just not there. So, right. So you have to be able to analyze that and see those things when you are when you're analyzing deals, is why this price is so high. Oh, okay. There was a duplex or something that sold recently, and now they think, oh, because that duplex sold, I can sell my duplex at that. That's not how investors work. That's how retail people work, right? And that's why I said there's a difference between helping someone buy a property that they're going to live in and helping someone buy a business that is a property. We're not going to buy something and give the seller the value that we're going to be getting when we add and improve that property. We can't give them the value that they never put into the property, right? If rent should be $1,000 and they're at 700, we're not going to give them the value of the property if they raise the rents to 900, right? They didn't do it. So we're not going to now help buy that property from you as if you have raised those rents. That's why deals sit, because you have investors trying to take value that they never put into the property. And then E is exit strategy. Now, right, we reverse engineer. We're coming back. And the prime example of a situation I had was, I was analyzing. I had a deal with a client. I had an international client. They bagged out of a deal, and it was only 5,000, and I just said that they're passing up on a good deal. Found one of my other clients and said, hey, I think this is a great fix and flip deal. However, here is the numbers if you want to do a BRRRR and what it would look like. Well, the market shifted while we were finishing the product, and because we're in Wisconsin, it does get cold here. Got a little nervous because it was getting around to being really cold, and felt like the best thing to do in this situation was to rent it out. So he ended up renting out, but he was able to still refinance it, pull the money that he put in there out. He wasn't able to get everything, but he was pretty much able to get all his rehab budget back. And he was able to raise the rents of that property. And now he is able to get a 20% cash on cash return on that property. So The exit strategy, there's 5 of them. It's buy and hold, it's fix and flip, it's BRRRR, it's seller financing, and then it's wholesaling. So those are the 5 exit strategies that we try to have a framework of what we want going into it, and sometimes that doesn't always work. But with that being said, let's get into our first investment. So we're going to go to the calculator. Um, so I am picking a property that it has been on the market for a while. I've been trying to do different things here. So I am going to oh, I'm messing up here. I'm messing up here. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to tell it to use this. So again, this is a duplex, 3034 North 53rd Street. Let me, here, I think I need to do this. Sorry, you know. There we go. All right, got an entire window going. So here we go. So this is the property that I'm going after, 3034 North 53rd Street. It's a duplex. It's been on the market 120 days. Again, this is what I like, as in a sense of this property's been sitting there. It's been sitting for 120 days. Let's go look at the history. So it was originally on the market at 227, right? So to me, again, this is how I like MLS, things on the market more than off market deals, because this seller had to realize that their price was wrong, right? Because they thought it was worth 227,000. So because they put it on the market and that hasn't happened yet, they have to assume that the price is wrong, right? So that's why I like going after these deals. So we're going to put that in there. Please use this PDF and run for A and S as the tax information on there. You can get the seller information, and you can also get the MLS because it's on the market. So it's going to run A and S. As you can see, it's duplex. It tells you the year it was built, square footage, basement, detached garage. It's telling you in the zoning, municipality, water and sewer. It tells you the unit mix. And then it's telling you the current listing data. Oh, I used the old one. So now it's showing as a sales value, right? I love I love the calculator because it just does things differently. Now look, so now it's breaking stuff down, right? It's telling you Hoops Enterprise LLC. It's a Milwaukee company. They purchased it in 2007 for 110. Current list price 209. They probably didn't do that much. Sorry, just based on the pictures I've seen. See, even in that, it's been 19 years, and they are hoping that it's worth 100,000 more, right? In 19 years, 100,000. So that's almost 20 years. So 5,000 a year. They did improve 5,000 a year. I don't know, you know. So right here, so again, this is why I like the calculator, because it's trying to tell you a story. And I think that's what analyzing deals is. It's analyzing a deal is like telling a story, right? What are we trying to learn? What are we trying to get to better understand the situation that we're in, and how to accurately value the property. So as investor owned LLC, look at net proceeds, consider 1031 exchanges, consider seller financing and returns make sense, right? This might make sense. Hey, you want this number? You've held this property for 19 years. Can we do some seller financing, right? That might make this work, right? 18-year hold, long-term ownership flexibility, mortgage may be paid off for very low, significant equity position, right? That's how you do those things, right? Um, Likely negotiable category, right? Because this is a lot. You've been in the market for as many days, right? Investor ownership, age of a property, needs updates, right? So it's kind of, like I said, it's doing the reverse engineering. It's kind of already giving you that information, aggressive offer, realistic acquisition, retail buyer range, right? So like if I was, a regular person, owner occupied, I'm willing to pay this because I'm gonna be living in it, right? But this is where you probably really need to be as an investor. Um, so now we're going to go to P. And what I tend to like using with P is the CMA. Please use this PDF for P, run it, and then stop there. All right. Subject property is listed at 209, right? So that's what the seller is wanting, but that doesn't mean we have to pay for that. Excuse me. CMA shows 7 competing duplexes currently listed from 209 to 299, right? So that can make some sense of why they think that price is where it should be. I disagree, right? Now we have some other ones. So those are currently listed, right? So there's 209 to 299 that's currently on the market that's not sold, right? And so average sold price is 184, medium sold price 180, high sold is 290. Average sell to list ratio is 98%, medium sell to. So if we get around the medium, we're selling 100% of the time. That's probably where it needs to be, right? And now it also is giving us some closes, comparable sales. So this is the wheelhouse, right? So again, this is telling subject price is above the neighborhood medium sold price, right? That's why it's sitting. Price trend score, lowest price index, currently competitive. It's a large footprint, so it's one of the bigger properties. Right here, this is the most important. 120 days. Something's wrong, right? Or someone would have bought it because things are being bought, right? I've been telling a lot of my clients in this, if something is priced right in this market, it's gonna get bought. Nothing's just sitting. If it's a good property, I'm sorry, it's our market is not like that where you have great properties, and if they're priced right, they're still sitting because no one's buying right now. That is not the case in our market. Things are priced right, it's gonna get an accepted offer. Maybe not the first day, maybe not the second day, but within that first week, it's getting an accepted offer. If it goes beyond the first week, then you can kind of probably put it in a situation that is not priced right. All right, so I am going to look at some of these photos. So bathroom can be updated, especially I don't see a vent in there unless it's another part. So that could definitely approve it. Flooring could be updated, the sink, new paint, the tile, wall could be redid. Kitchen definitely can be updated. There's no cabinetry. So to have some cabinetry would very much update this property. Looked like it got some good flooring. Light fixtures could be updated. Ceiling fan. You know, it's a 2-car garage. I'm assuming that could be fixed up. This look outdated, so probably could be updated. A water heater. This is the other bathroom. Same difference. Can be updated. Doesn't look like it has a air vent. Good flooring. Again, lighting could be updated. Go pack go. Same here. Lighting can be updated. Some fresh paint. Flooring looks decent. Carpet throughout. I would reverse it. I would have flooring out here and then carpet in the bedrooms. All right. So I'm gonna say that we probably need about 50,000. Moderate rehab at 45K. All right. So now we got the P. So now we run that. Total project cost, purchase price is 209.7 and then 45,000. So now we're at 254. Average price, medium sold price 180, high sales 290. So we're basically hoping for that ARV at where we are currently, right? So now, right? So again, this is part of reverse engineering, right? Now that we're getting more information and more data, now things have to adjust, right? So before we were saying this amount was different, you know, target is 180. Now we need to maximize the maximum offer we can give is 190 because at 190, we're all in at 235, right? So that is much safer to be at if we think the high price that we're going to be comparing to is 290. So this, and then again, this is why I like the calculator. It's telling you a story. The things you should be focused on that is going to get the most improvement is kitchens, flooring, paint, lighting, exterior curb appeal, bathroom updates, and common area improvements, right? And that's pretty much what I said. So price strength is 7.8 before rehab adjustments. After 45 rehab is 6.9. So it's going down because the price is not working, right? So we need to purchase at 185 or below. Yellow zone 185 to 190. Red zone is anything 190 or above, especially with the 45K rehab. So now we're at R. So we need the rental report. Use the rental report for R, and then also use the CMA for what it would be if this is a fix and flip opportunity. Run R and then stop. Let's change that. So as this is running in the background, again, this is going to bring up what rents can be in the area. Right now, I believe what they're saying rents are 1146 and 1159. So these rents are, I believe, a little bit higher than what we're currently thinking. So they have it at the highest amount. So I have to assume they either have Section 8 or Section 42 tenants to get this amount of rent. Just at this point, 2-bedroom. So yeah. So now it's giving us the gross monthly rent, right, based on what we can rent it out for. Again, it's saying it's higher right now. I would have to see those rents to make everything, solidified. It's given us an 8.4 out of 10 a rent verdict because we did give it actual data that it can use. Stabilized rent is 1150. I think that's good. So if they're getting that amount at current, more power to them, right? So now I'm going to just run E and then stop there. Oh, so it didn't. Okay. I equals 45K. Then run. I'm redoing it because it didn't pick it up. So it could still be a BRRRR. Wise improve. Rent potential, market rent supporting moving from roughly 10 to 1150 or 1200. Basis is 230. Stabilized rent is 2300. Buy and hold still functions, right? Creative financing, again, I think this is why it's high, is because we know they've owned it for 19 plus years and it's been on the market 120 days. We have to assume that they have a low mortgage or no mortgage just in that situation. Wholesaling, obviously not a good opportunity because it's already on the market. It's already been sitting for 120 days. It's less likely that they're going to take it off the market and then try to put it back on, or take it off the market to sell it for way less. Flip, we have to get it way lower than what it is right now to be able to sell it at the amount that we want to recoup everything. So I think this could go up depending on the price that we can get. The price at a certain amount will make this go up higher. So best case, purchase at 185, rehab at 45. We're all in 230. Rents is 2,300. This fits the 1% rule, right? And then you refinancing long-term debt. Acceptable case is 190, 45, 235, all in 220, 2,200. Risk is buying it at 195 with 45, and you're in 250. BRRRR remains the clear winner. Boom. So I'm going to say please provide final verdict. So now it's going to give us everything. This is going to summarize it, right? Now it's saying it's a rock deal. It's not a home run flip, but it's a strong income producing duplex opportunity with multiple ways to win, purchase correctly. The biggest factor is not the rehab or the rents. The biggest factor is the purchase price, right? So Again, you win at the purchase. You don't win after everything else. Um, you win at the purchase price, right? Most people think, oh, I can make it work. I can do it. Don't make that mistake. You win at the purchase, right? You win at the purchase. That's why analyzing deals is so important. It's so vital to the business process because it allows you to really understand and it allows you to make an argument. When I give offers to clients now or offers to other sellers, I let them know what I'm trying to accomplish. So they just don't assume that I'm just lowballing them. It's like, no, I have rhyme to my reason of why I'm offering this. I'm not offering you a lowball number. I don't speak in those terms. I don't say this is a low ball number. I say this is the correct maximum acceptable offer I can do because this is the outcome that I'm looking for. Everything in this area is saying that this is the selling price if I fix it up, or this is the value of it. If I buy it at where you are at currently and I put this rehab in there, I'm gonna be over that, and that doesn't work. And they're like, well, it won't take that much to get that rehab. All right, then show me that. Give me the numbers that you can prove that you can. These things can be fixed less than that. Show me where the ARV is more than that. Then show me where I can get higher rents than as with current. If I can't do one of those things, then your price is wrong, right? And so this is allowing you to make that argument. It's allowing you to make that proposal of, hey, this is why I'm offering this and why I think this is a good deal. You might not think that because of what you initially did, but here are the reasons why I am believing that this property should be sold at this amount. So it's just going through all the stuff, right? It went through P, A, S, right? A, it went through all the stuff. S, right, is giving you all that. P, what the purchase price is, what they recommend, what's the maximum offer. I is the investment, right? R is the rent, right? We think we can rent it out for $950, $1050. And then, when we fix it up and stabilize it, we should be able to get $1150 or $1200. The best exit strategy is the BRRRR method. Runner up is long-term hold. Not recommended is flip, and that's just because we're not looking to try to buy it at the lowest amount possible, right? We're trying to still buy it where they are still happy, and then we can still be happy. So now it's giving you, say, these are the reasons why it's a rock. Strong duplex fundamentals. Reason 2, seller leverage exists, right? There should be some room, and then there is some rent growth. Biggest risk is the purchase price, right? If we buy it here, we're just going to be way over budget, and it's going to be hard to recoup that money. And the whole point of buying an investment and the strategy that we use, right? We want to recycle our capital, right? That's how we're compounding our interest here. Is how do we recycle that capital? Well, we need to improve the value of the property enough that when we go back to the bank and say, hey, I want to pull money back out, that value is there, right? The 70% rule. The 70% rule is there is because that's typically what a bank is going to loan back to you, the value of that property, right? So if the value of that property is 100,000, a bank is only going to give you a $70,000 loan. Well, if I bought it for 20 and put 80,000 in, and I'm at my 100, I'm finna just get 70,000 back. Well, I got 70,000 of the 100,000 that I put in this deal. That still works, right? Because now I only got 20, I got 30,000 left in the deal. That still works, right? But I need some of that money back so I can go do the next deal, right? If I don't have that money back to go get the next deal, then I'm stuck. And then I'm just sitting on that one property. As I shared before, I had, someone reach out to me to have a consultation, and, that was where they were stuck. They was like, I don't know how to scale. And, as we were conversating, I asked, well, have you bought something recently that you feel stuck in this way? It was like, actually, yes, I bought something, we fixed it up, and now we're cash flowing. And I was like, well, you fixed it up, won't you pull the cash? Well, we didn't do that. And it's like, well, then you bought the wrong property. Well, or you have the wrong strategy, right? The strategy should have been, we should have put more money into this property and made it fix it up, or we should have bought it for less so that the amount that we put in there to fix it up, the value would have been higher so that we can pull that money back out. They didn't do that. And again, why I love this calculator is because it gives you the next 5 yards. What should we be doing? What is the next things that we can do? Verify current rents, right? We don't technically have those rents, right? Because I think those rents are kind of high. So we would be, hey, can I get those leases? When we go to the property, I should be checking the furnace, roof, and water heaters, make sure that they're good. I said 45,000. It could be 60,000 because I need to replace all these things, right? Then submit an offer at 180, right? And then work up. I would probably say a little bit lower. And then also ask the seller, would he consider financing, right? Offer that. And they say, no, that's too low. It's like, okay, well, would you be open to seller financing then, right? And then finding out the leases will help you with this one because of this timeline. So if they're month to month, again, that comes into play, right? You have to be able to start fixing up the property while you have tenants there. Ideally, especially if you do a hard money loan, you don't want tenants in the property. So if you have tenants in the property, that's going to create a situation where maybe you can't work on the property right away, and you're already, you're already behind the eight ball of fixing the property up so you can refinance out of the hard money deal, right? So there's just a lot of things that go into the strategy of how to analyze a deal and putting that deal together, and all these different steps you need to know so that you can come to the right decision, right? And buy, if you can, secure it at 185 or less. Again, I would probably say probably 165 is probably the right number, but they are wanting to give a good, decent number. Again, I think the 290 is probably too high. I think the average price that should be considered is 235, 225. And that's why I say buying it at 165 is probably a better approach. Okay, so there we have it. We analyzed that deal. We went through all of our acronyms: ASPIRE. A is for address, asset. S is for seller, situation. P is for purchase price, price and purchase. I is for improvements, investment. R is for revenue, and E is for exit strategy. Again, these are reps that compound, and if you don't have AspiRE, right? I mean, you're just doing what you want to do, right? It might take you 3 hours to analyze a deal because you're just putting numbers in there. You're researching the rents. You're researching other comps in the area and things of that nature, right? You're just gathering the information that you think you should gather to run it, right? And there's really no rhyme or reason. And so by your rep 10, it's still taking you 3 hours. It might take you less because now you might have a system to you pulling information, right? So like, even though you might not have a system, you're like, well, I pulled this information from before, so I'm gonna pull this same information again. So you might be pulling the data quicker, but it's still taking you the same pace. You still be like, well, is this a deal or not a deal, right? Because if you don't reverse engineer and if you don't have your number, you can keep analyzing. You're not gonna know if this duplex that's making $500 and this duplex making $300, which one's better, right? Well, you're just going to naturally assume the 500 is better than the 300. Well, if you don't have a system and you don't have other ways of looking at it, right? The 500 one, well, that one was fixed up. They have raised all the rents. They did all the things they were supposed to, and now they're just trying to sell it. Well, that's 500. Well, the other one is 300. They didn't do any of those things. Which one's better? Well, to me, the 300 is better because that's the one I can add stuff to and improve it, and then I can raise the rents, and I can actually change the 300 to maybe 700, right? Where the 500, it is what it is because they did all the work, right? And having AspiRE allows you to do that. AspiRE has this filters, right? You're looking at, okay, the seller bought it here, the seller did these things. All right, okay, now I can properly analyze this deal, right? And like I said, I went for multiple hours to getting it under an hour. I would definitely say that right now I can probably analyze a deal maybe within 15, 30 minutes at this point. Just getting the information back in the napkin, you can just, you can get a couple numbers and be able to just run the analysis from that standpoint, right? And then, as you keep getting this compounding it's going to turn into, as I said, our goal with our clients is to have you at 5 properties in 3 years. As I was telling you, the Aspire Mastermind group, we meet every second Wednesday of every month. We're doing that this week. Again, we have the AspiRE cohort going as well. A lot of things happening, but as you do this, right? Even with our Tuesday things, right? Every Tuesday, you should be trying to get better, right? As you analyze deals, and you should, as I put information in there, and you're starting to see the information as I go through it. You should be like, oh, this deal is. I don't think this is going to be a good deal, right? You should, as you're processing it and as you get better, you should already be like, I don't think this is a good deal. You just go through with it because you need to finalize it, and then you can put those numbers in your system, right? Because you should be tracking the stuff, right? I have a list, I have a spreadsheet of all the deals that I analyze. So I have a continuing spreadsheet of all the deals that I'm analyzing so that I can go back and know what I'm analyzing. And it's been I've been doing this so long now that now there's properties coming back on the market that I analyzed 3 years ago, and like I have a file folder already on it. Right now, that's letting me know I'm getting I have information and data on these stuff, and I'll know what it was at that time and what it was, and so it just starts helping you understand these things, or something that might you know, be bought and sold a lot, right? Um, but as you get better, right, you're gonna be able to analyze these deals, and then again, going through the cohort. Um, as I tell people, you got three outcomes, right? One is that you're unable to get pre-approved, or you don't have the down payment. Well, even with that, you're still going to have a success in the 90-day program, because you will lead with a business plan, and you will know how to analyze deals. You would know all the systems in place. You would know all the partners you need to have a successful deal. We put you through that process and make sure that you have that. The second one is you get an accepted offer, within the process, because we've been analyzing, you've been connecting, you've been now going to on deals, and now you have the opportunity to actually write on a deal and you get accepted. And the final outcome is that you already have an accepted offer, you've already closed, and now you're dealing with the aftermath of closing on the deal. And now you're going through that process of, stabilizing the property, or going through the fix and flip property process, fixing the property up, burning it, right? Now you're in that situation. And now you have a plan and strategy to do it, and not just, you know, going in there with your eyes covered, right? So Aspire Mastermind Group, the first meeting is always free. And then our Tuesdays is free as well, right? We're trying to help and provide, a service to the community of helping individuals be able to analyze deals better, see more deals, and feel more comfortable on analyzing deals and putting offers out there, right? Join free tonight. Again, tomorrow is our meeting, our monthly meeting. The first meeting is always free. So please sign up. You can reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, or you can DM me. Yeah, like I said, the cohort is a compound machine, 90 days, right? 30 days framework master, first deal submitted, first offer written, right? We're gonna keep you doing those things. And again, 60 days, we hopefully have you under contract, actively negotiating. We know what your capital strategy is. We know where you should be getting your money from. And then 90 days, by the time 90 days, first deal should be closed. We're getting to the point where we know how to recycle your capital, and then we're looking at the second deal, right? That's the most ideal situation in 90 days, that you already closed. We're starting to get the process going, and you were already looking at your second deal. Again, 90 days. We started this past weekend. We still are accepting people if you want to jump on and take advantage of this opportunity. We're just trying to help people get deals, right? Get your first deal, your next deal. We're helping individuals build their real estate portfolio. We're going through that process with us. We're going to have content on it. We're going to be doing videos. Real people, real deals, real results. So you got two choices, guys. You can keep watching, keep showing up. We appreciate being part of the community, things of that nature. But if you keep just doing this alone, you stay in your bubble, it's not going to help, right? As I tried, one of the things, the reason why I have started this business model and this niche of just focus on investors is because as I was reading books and as I went through the process, I started realizing that this is not a single person sport. This is a team sport. I like it, always think of it like it's like track or tennis, right? You tend to be by yourself, but you're still somewhat on a team, right? You have your coaches, you have people that support you, all those things. Well, they are all part of the team. Same thing here. As in real estate, you need a team, you need a community, you need other people around you to let you know, keep pushing you, and let you know that you're on the right path, right? And finding that community is part of that compounding, right? Because you're around them, they're around you, you're pushing each other. You're showing up when sometimes you don't want to show up. You're coming to the Tuesday things, you're coming to the Wednesday webinar, you're coming to the 90-day class, you're reaching out, you're coming to the monthly meeting, you're coming to our other organizational outings, and you're just being around it, right? And now you become what you're around, right? And this is what we're trying to do for individuals. So if you're interested, please reach out to us, DM us, show up to the meeting next tomorrow, and start that journey. Again, that's the end. I want to thank NextHome MyWay again, Angel, Carlos, and Jose for allowing me to put on this webinar every Tuesday. And if you are a real estate agent or broker that is looking for a new home, please consider NextHome MyWay. They have the tools and the resources to allow you to tell your story, to build your brand, to build your business. And it's a great organization to be a part of. And then Raise the Standard, that's my company. We live by 3 mottos. We try to raise the standard of living. We want every deal to either our client and family, our client and their family, it's a win. For me, my family, my team, it's a win. And for the community, it's a win, right? If all 3 of those wins are there, that is us raising the standard of living. Our second one is be better by being better. Every day we are focused on how to improve, how to make these transactions better, how to make things easier for our clients, how to help our clients better understand to run their business, right? Again, we don't help clients buy property. We help them buy a business. It just so happens to be a property. And then our last one is, what's your legacy? What are you doing this for, right? And you got to have those things, because sometimes those days when you don't want to do it, that's what you got to remember why you're doing it, right? You got to have that bigger why for those hard days. Again, thank you for joining me. This is AspiRE Beast Council. We do this every Tuesday at 12 o'clock, so you can lunch and learn, so you can learn how to analyze deals on your lunch, because our ideal clients are actually managers. They are individuals that work, they enjoy their job, they love their job actually sometimes, but they know they need to invest in real estate to live the life that they want to live, right? This is more about lifestyle building, and instead of, living for retirement. I tell my clients, let's buy that duplex because you want that new car. Let's buy that 4 unit because you want to go on 3 more vacations this year. Let's buy that 10 unit because you do want the mini mansion, right? That's how we approach real estate investing here. It's not about, let's buy this duplex so you don't touch it for the next 20 years and then when you retire you can enjoy it. No, it's how can we buy these investments that'll help pay for the life that we want today. And that's how we approach this. So again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. I am so happy that I am able to do this with you guys. Oops, that went away. Thank you again. Oh my God. Thank you again. Appreciate you guys joining AspiRE Mastermind Wednesday, 5:30 to 7:30, 5151 South Howell Avenue. Upstairs is where we'll be holding the Mastermind meetup group. We do it every second Wednesday of every month. Hopefully you guys can join us. I am Charles Clark, your real estate investment broker, here with another bright idea. Beleza.